Do you ever feel like people are constantly influencing you to do something you are initially against? Or perhaps you've made decisions and found yourself asking, what just happened? Why did I agree to what they said? If these sound familiar, then chances are you've been a victim of manipulation. But you don't have to keep being a victim. The fact is that you can identify most tactics for manipulation, allowing you to deal with them effectively. That's our goal with this video. We'll reveal the top manipulation techniques commonly used by people so you can recognize them and protect yourself from falling prey to them. Number 1. Guilt tripping. This type of manipulation is something most of us have dealt with at some point. Guilt tripping is a sneaky way of using guilt to influence someone's behavior, often in subtle, passive-aggressive ways. For instance, someone drives you to see some tourist attractions, but later on, they remind you you didn't chip in for gas. Or imagine you're finally enjoying that meal you've been excited about, only for someone to say, "Go ahead, have another burger. Worst case, you'll gain weight, look like a balloon, and no one will want to be around you." It wasn't in your plans, but the guilt makes you give them enough money for a full tank of gas, or you offer that burger to them instead. Sometimes, guilt tripping is less direct, but still hits hard. For instance, they're not outright telling you you're to blame for something, but their words make you feel like you messed up because they say, "I guess I'll just do it myself. I always do it anyway." Another common move to guilt trip you? Blowing things out of proportion. Maybe you forget to call someone. And when you finally do, you're immediately told, "You didn't call me last night, and I was so worried I couldn't sleep. I ended up missing work because I still hadn't heard from you by this morning." Guilt tripping works by making you feel responsible for someone else's problems or unhappiness, and that guilt allows them to get what they want from you. Number 2. Silent treatment. This tactic is when someone intentionally ignores you or cuts off communication with you completely. At first, it might feel like a relief, especially if you've been in conflict with them for so long, because the quiet can seem peaceful. But soon enough, you realize it's just the calm before the storm. Why? Because by refusing to talk, they're actually emotionally isolating you. You see, at first, you might wonder what's going on with them, especially when you know it's them who's in the wrong. But as the silence drags on, doubts start creeping in. You begin questioning yourself if you did something wrong, so their silence is justified. This shifts the power dynamic completely. You then feel like you have to be the one to fix things, and when that happens, they take control. Because you're desperate to break the silence, you might apologize, agree to their demands, or change your behavior even if you didn't do anything wrong. As a result, the manipulator becomes more dominant in the relationship. Number 3. Shifting the blame. This is when someone tries to dodge responsibility by pinning their mistakes or failures on someone else. Shifting the blame is a common tactic manipulators use to avoid consequences and protect their image. It usually starts with them denying they've done anything wrong. Sometimes, they may even flat-out lie to escape accountability. Then, they turn the situation around and aim the blame at you. They might say things like, "This is your fault," or even something like, "If you hadn't done that, this wouldn't have happened." Basically, they'll come up with all sorts of reasons to justify why it's supposedly your fault, leaving you second-guessing your behavior or actions, even when you know you didn't do anything wrong. This blame shifting can become a pattern, especially when it involves manipulative relationships. Over time, the tactic creates a toxic dynamic where the victim is constantly made to feel at fault, leading to confusion, guilt, and self-doubt. By the way, make sure to subscribe if you've learned something new today. Number 3. Stonewalling. A lot of people confuse stonewalling with the silent treatment, and it's easy to see why. After all, they both involve a sudden lack of communication. But there's a key difference. See, instead of completely shutting down and going silent, someone who's stonewalling you will still talk to you, but they'll dodge the real issue in different ways. For example, they might sidestep your questions or change the subject when you're trying to have an important conversation. They might even cut the discussion short without any plan to revisit it later. Stonewalling is all about shutting communication down, but not completely going silent. Instead, they might give one-word answers during your interactions with them, avoid eye contact, or pull away physically during the conversation. You may even hear vague, dismissive phrases like, "I don't know," "Whatever you say," or I'm done. But this is not about shyness. Rather, it's deliberate withdrawal so they can avoid dealing with the issue. Number 4, mirroring. This is one of the sneakiest manipulation tactics around. Mirroring is a technique where they consciously imitate your behaviors, ways of speaking, or even emotions to gain your trust so they can eventually manipulate you. What makes this sneaky is mirroring can occur naturally and is often used as a way to empathize with someone, like in healthy social interactions as a way to build a deeper connection with them. On the flip side, it can be used as a manipulation tactic when there's a deliberate intent to influence another person. You see, the person they're imitating often builds that sense of trust and rapport with someone who mirrors them, sometimes without them realizing it. Instead, they focus on the idea that they've found someone who truly understands them because they believe they share similarities with that person. Mirroring also creates that feeling of familiarity, so you may lower your defenses. At this point, you may become more open, vulnerable, and willing to do things or make decisions influenced by the manipulator. Here's an example. For instance, they copy your body language, such as your posture, facial expressions, and even how you sit or stand. They may even mimic your tone of voice, pace of speech, and emotions. By practically copying you this, they can create a sense of familiarity and comfort, making you feel more at ease. And when they sense you've lowered your defenses, that's when they're likely to start influencing you to do their bidding. Number 5, gaslighting. This common manipulation tactic is where someone slowly wears down your confidence in your own thoughts, memories, or perceptions. To do this, they might outright deny things you clearly remember, saying stuff like, "That never happened. I didn't eat the last slice of cake. Actually, there wasn't even any cake. You keep imagining things, so you question what's real." They might also brush off your emotions, telling you things like, "You're overreacting. It wasn't a big deal." And if you push back with, "Yes, it was," they'll double down and tell you, "No, it wasn't. You're just not seeing it yet." Before you know it, you're second-guessing yourself. Another common tactic is acting like they're too busy or above the conversation. For example, they might say, "I don't have time for this right now. I've got an important call," when that call they have planned is really just gossip. Some manipulators even go as far as rewriting history. Imagine debating about a history book, and they pull out a version that's been altered just to prove you wrong. But you don't know that book is fake. Ultimately, manipulators use gaslighting to make you question your memory. They want to leave you confused, doubting your own reality, and unsure of your decisions. It's all about distorting your sense of truth so they can stay in control. As you can see, they're all really sneaky techniques. But the good news is that by knowing these techniques we've mentioned, you can already protect yourself from others' manipulation. And if you like this video, then check out these related videos to see more. And make sure to like this video to let the algorithm know you'd like to see more videos like these.